Hey everybody, it's Rolly, and I'm back again with being able to introduce Maggie, who is going to be sharing the value of one during our women's conference that is coming up. And so, just letting everybody know that there is only a couple of hours left of the Valentine's Day special. It closes at 2:22 p.m. Eastern today. So, if you have not yet registered, now is definitely the time. And one of the things that I've been sharing it at different videos as well, just because I think that it's important. We've just lost Maggie. So one of the things that I think is really important
I'm back.
is to help people understand a little bit about like how come we're doing this Valentine's Day special. So we actually have an anonymous donor that donated and has over the last few years donated some money for women to be able to attend the conference. And so normally we pick and choose different women because our spaces were limited to 75 spaces at our women's conference and our physical conference. And so this year, with it being virtual, what we decided to do with that money was to spread it across the board to reduce the price over the course of the weekend, to be able to allow more women to be able to participate in the conference at a more reduced rate. So I know that some people are like, hey, but I already paid the early bird. What's going on? And so there is a special something coming to you as well, but just so that you know that that's the reason why. So normally we would actually contact one of our local agencies and say, hey, we have X number of tickets available. Do you have some women that would benefit from attending? And so then they pick and choose different women to be able to attend. So this year we just put it across the board and did it over Valentine's because the theme is self-love. I am enough, you are enough. So being able to give back to yourself during this Valentine's season was it just seemed to be so fitting when the funding came through at the same time. So it was like, let's do it this way and see how many more women actually get to participate. And of course we use the sacred number 222. And so because it was like kind of like, okay, so how are we going to break this down and make this go? And so then 222 came to mind. So using angel numbers 101, what she says is trust that everything is working out exactly as it's supposed to, with divine blessings for everyone involved. Let's go and have faith. So I thought, how perfect is that? And even if we look at Kyle Gray's, because I've got both of them. So Kyle Gray, and they're usually pretty close to the same, but so Kyle Gray says, you have the ability to lift up the hearts of those around you like an angel on earth. You were born to shine. So the person who has donated these funds, and they always remain anonymous, so it allows them to be able to have this ability of being able to help lift up some new souls. So what do you think, Maggie?
I think that is a fabulous idea. And it's wonderful that extra people get the opportunity who would not have been able to come otherwise. And I say a huge, huge thank you to your anonymous donor because it opens it up to other people who may not have been able to attend. And one thing I always say about healing and healing events is they should be available to everybody. And this way, it's made it available to people who maybe couldn't have made it otherwise. Because even though you and I know the value of this conference, if you're struggling to feed your children and you have to make that choice, oftentimes we become the last choice.
Yeah.
And this way makes that possible.
And it does. And I, like I said, I know that there was a lot of different questions. So I even sent an email out to my email list, and the message was, why now? Right? So why now? Why are we doing this now? Because normally that's done at the early bird stage. But this sponsor always donates. And I should have known that it would donate somewhere around this time. But again, we thought that maybe we would just be picking normal people, like we would normally do. But then it was like, let's take a look at this and see how else that we can actually use these funds. And so we contacted them and said, okay, this is the scoop. This is what we normally do. The event is virtual this year. So what do you think about this? And they were all for it. So it was like, okay, let's do this. Let's put this out there and let's share that being able to have more people be able to attend. Because like you said, Maggie, the value of it is in the bigger aspect is bigger than the dollar amount, right? So it really is. And so you guys have had a small glimpse of the different women who are actually going to be there at the conference. So some of them are exhibitors, some of them, and there's more to come. Some of them are exhibitors, some of them are speakers, and some of them are behind the scenes. And so we have all these different women that get to come together and share their experiences. And I talked a little bit about Maggie and her experience of being the very first person, or it being her first speaking event 2 years ago. And so that she's back again this year, because we have a few new people again this year that this is their first speaking event. And so it's just so important for us to be able to have those different opportunities. We all need to start somewhere, and we all have a message to give. And so one of the things that I think is super cool is that when we go to when we've had the different conferences, is that I learned something from the guests. Like as much as I learn from the speakers and the things that they have to share, is that there's somebody in the audience that I pick up from, and it's like, oh, just a minute, that is amazing. Or we've shared the same something, our journey, part of our journey was the same.
Yeah.
And it's always that little piece of like, oh, I didn't go on this journey alone. And so Anne says, amazing opportunity, looking forward to it. Yes, I saw your registration come in, Anne. I'm so excited that you're joining. And but it really is. So Maggie, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's like you said, I spoke at my very first speaking engagement with you 2 years ago. This is kind of like my very first speaking engagement again, because this is my very first ever virtual conference. I've only ever spoken in public, where I don't have to deal with the computer side of it. And just with the difficulty we had getting on this call, that as well presents its own difficulties. And I think it's important to acknowledge that every journey is for a reason. And this journey as well is for a reason. And each person who is able to attend the conference is there through spirit connections and through spirit divinely making that appointment made. How it happened, how it came to be, how you and I came to know each other, all of it is the synchronicity of how things work in the spirit realm. This conference was planned by spirit many years ago, years and years ago, and probably shocking to you how far ago. And here we are. And we just step up and we do what we're called to do. I'm really excited that this year's conference is I Am Enough, because that's hugely what I believe in, is that every single person is enough. You're exactly enough as you are. And when I'm going to speak on the value of one, that's what that's about. So in this call out today, I would give just a little tiny titch of that. And I want whoever's watching right now to say these words: I am enough. Immediately when you say those words, inside you is something that tells you you're not. I invite you to bring that person inside you to the conference as well. Whether that's your inner child, whether that's your wounded soul, whoever it is, because I can pretty much guarantee you when you say the words, I am enough, something triggers in there and tells you you're not. For me personally, when I say that, that person inside of me says, yeah, but this virtual conference, it's going to be pretty freaking hard. That voice speaks to me. And that's where I say, bring that person with you, because I want to speak to that person too, because that person needs to hear that they are enough. I am enough exactly how I am. Even if I am computer illiterate, even if I am challenged in all of these technological things that are before me now, I am still enough. And when you say those words, I am enough, and you hear that other part needs to come and hear what I have to say about the value of one. And I invite you to bring that person with you. Bring a nice comfy pillow if you need to, and sit them right beside you and say, hey, we're going to listen to Maggie speak about the value of one. And each time I do speak or have a conversation with somebody, I speak with the intention that I am speaking to one person. Because to me, it doesn't matter if 100 people are hearing me speak. It doesn't matter if 10 people are hearing me speak, or if 5,000 people are hearing me speak. Spirit has connected one person who needs to hear what I have to say. And if one person hears that message of they are enough, and the value of them as that one person, if one person gets that, that's enough for me. Because I believe one person is enough to change our entire world. And you are that person.
And it's just so important, isn't it? Like, we really don't see our own value. And so I'm kind of going back and talking about like this event being virtual and global, right? So when I put out the request for speakers, it was kind of like, okay, I'm going to put the request out. And but I had delayed doing the request for speakers because I was waiting to see if the world would actually come back to normal, which yet to come back to normal. So virtual it is. And it was like, okay. And so then all the rest of my in-person events, my larger in-person events, like my retreats and things like that, I canceled those this year and in this past year. And it was like, this is not one that I can cancel. This is one that we have built this momentum, that we have been able to build this this connection. And so one of the things that that we actually shared was, because again, people are like, okay, well, I don't understand. It's virtual. Why all these extra expense? And like, why is it so expensive? And there's a lot of behind the scenes expenses that we don't necessarily think about. Right. So so that's one reason, including having a tech person who's going to make sure to help navigate and the people that, because I'm not going to have a chance to be able to help navigate people saying, I can't get in, it's not working for me. So we have somebody that's going to be on standby that we have to pay for an entire weekend. So that's one reason. Whereas we didn't have that in the same capacity. We did have a tech person that helped us last year as well, but not in the same capacity that we're going to have this year. And then when I was talking to Diane, who is also going to be attending the event as one of our exhibitors, one of the things that when she was talking, and I said, okay, so like some of these questions have come up and I'm not quite sure how to be able to, like, other than like there's dollars and cents, but how to be able to, because we have to pay for, we have our speakers to pay for, we have the advertising to pay for, like there's a lot of different things that are like kind of behind the gifts and the prizes to pay for. So we've got all these different things, but then when we actually look at the value of each person, right? So each person is that if at the very minimum that they charge $27, which is kind of like the going rate kind of thing. So somewhere between $27 and $47 is kind of like those lower end things. And so like even using that, and we have 25 speakers that are actually putting in that time that they're actually sharing, right? So they have that. So we have that in itself. So and then when we add all that, like just their time, and then we've got the exhibitors, we've got the behind the scenes people, we've got like all these other people that are putting into it as well. And then when you look at that full value, and this year, which is like even more cool because the technology is like on the bright side of the technology, is that we get to record them and you actually get to go back and listen again to what Maggie had to say. You get to go back again and listen to what Amy had to say. You get to go back again and listen to what Charlotte had to say. And you get to go back again and again and again, as however often it is that you want to be able to go back, which is not something that we've been able to do in the past conferences. So I think that even just that in itself is a huge added value.
Right. And not to mention where we are located, we would not be able to get all of those people together on one weekend. And especially not with the weather that we're having right now.
What kind of weather are you having? We're having nice weather up here.
We're having severe snowstorms right now. And today and tomorrow, we're all hunkering down and not leaving the house.
So for those of you who don't know the distance, so Maggie actually traveled from St. Catharines. And how far of a drive is it? 8 hours?
6.5 to 7. Yeah. Depending on the weather.
And usually in March we have it's either we have two, like we always follow the in like a lamb, out like a lion, or out like a lion, in like a lamb. And so we like the in like a lion, out like a lamb, because that means April is actually going to be nice and mild. But for those of us who are actually hosting the conference or traveling up for the conference, storm at the first weekend of March is not something that they want to see, but we're used to it from us way up north. We have lots of snow.
Yeah, so, and us in the south are not used to it, nor do we want to get used to it.
But we also have speakers this year from the UK. We have speakers from Australia, all across Canada and all across the US. So I think that that is super cool that we're actually able to do this in our 4th year. And so I think it's incredible. So
and that's something that, had the situation that we're in and being forced to go virtual, we probably wouldn't be doing this year.
No, I wouldn't be.
Look at how powerful that is. Look at how amazing that is in itself.
Yeah.
That in itself is
completely
amazing. And the fact that we all get to share with each other, and all of their people are coming together with our people. It's global. Whether we think it is or not, it is. And that's exciting. It's powerful. And it just shows the value that there is in this, and the value of one. You are one person, Rolly, who 4 years ago dreamed this up.
Yeah.
And Spirit gave you the desire to do this, and look at what it's turned into.
Yeah. So
and you could have just sat back and said, I'm going to cancel it this year and I'm not going to do anything. You could have done that.
Yeah.
And look at what we all would have missed out on.
And it
Even
is
with little kinks that we have.
And it really is. So like my goal for year 5 was, and it still is. So my goal for year 5 was that I was going to do 4 in-person events. And then on my 5th year was like, okay, for the 5th anniversary, let's bring in some global people, and we're going to have some tech people on site to be able to help us navigate making sure that we can reach different speakers and different guests globally. And because my in-person event only allows for 75 people, and that's my choice. And it could actually have a lot more because of the size of the space that we have. But the way that I actually have things set up is that it's everybody's in a circle. So even though we're globally, we're not necessarily in a circle, but we still are technically with that, with the globe, right? Because we're around the world. But like in person, we are literally sitting around in a circle, because there's not one person, including myself or any of the other organizers or any of the speakers, that are more important than you. And so that circle, and that's part of my own traditions and my own teachings, is that circle allows everybody to be equal. And so which is why space-wise, we can have 75 women in a circle. But if we go beyond that, we can't maintain that circle. And so that is extremely important for me. And so which is the reason why I've never opened it up to more than 75. And last year we actually were sold out. So that was incredible. Like that was an incredible feat, because it was like, wow, this is so incredible. We actually sold out. We have no more room, because I couldn't even just sneak somebody else in It was, this is how many people were registered to attend, and no one else was able to come in. We did open up the exhibitors' time for the public to be able to come in, but anything of our closed sessions, everything was closed so that it was only just us. And that was really incredible. So Nikki, Francine said, I am enough. So she said that when you were actually saying that. Nikki said, I think that's supposed to be a smile. Help me out, Nikki. Because it's an O with a forward slash. I know that Pam uses like little things too, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. And Nikki says, wow, with another emoji symbol. And then Francine says again, that's so awesome. And it really is. It's something that we get to build out. It's something that we actually get to have those connections. And my goal is to be able to allow the conference to be cheaper on a regular basis if we get the sponsorship. But of course, it takes time, and it takes people to actually see that this is what's going on. And then it becomes like an important event. And because it is an important event, but it's not necessarily recognized by everybody initially, right? So so last year we were able to get sponsors. This year we were able to get sponsors, and so giving us that cheaper rate, right? So like that allowed us to be able to have that. So it really is one person that gets to help bring in that little piece and that little bit of time. And so I really truly appreciate everybody who's helped. And oh, Nikki said it's a hand waving hi. Thanks, Nikki. I'm like, oh, with a forward slash, don't know what that is. So one of the people that I miss terribly is Nikki. So Nikki normally has helped us in the past with being able to do like the web design, all those kinds of things. But with everything with the pandemic, there's different opportunities in terms of funding to be able to help do some of the back end stuff. And so, but the regulation is it needs to be somebody in Northern Ontario. So that kind of takes Nikki out of the wing for now, but definitely be able to connect with Nikki again at some point. But absolutely love the designs that Nikki has created over the years, because Nikki has been part of our last 3 conferences. Yeah. So this is the only one that she hasn't been formally in part of our conferences. So, but definitely appreciate. So anybody who's listening and has access to being able to connect with the US services, you definitely want to hit up Nikki and see where she's at and what she's doing. So she's the one that created my logo. So I'm very, very, very fond of Nikki. So, but that's my own little bias, right? So, but it's a good bias, right? So it's
absolutely.
But it's how one person can actually see things differently, right? So she was able to take my feather, which was given to me, that I was able to now, and I use that as my logo. It's on my building. It's what I have on everything that I have. It's part of my identity of who I am. And it was when my name was given to me, so it's pretty special. So I'm very fond of it. So
and it goes to show the value of one. She impacted your life through that logo.
Yeah.
And that connection always remains. And the ripple effect that she has on your life because of that is powerful. And that's where, for all of us, and every person attending, if we can just grab and grasp on to the value that we have in our world, the value that we have in our connections with every single person that we meet every single day. If you can grab on to that value, it will take you places that you can't even imagine. Yeah. Because when you realize the impact that you have in the lives of others, it just excites you.
It really does. And it really has those huge impacts. And it really does take that one step, right? So that one step that feels like you might be jumping off the cliff, and it's like, no, it's there. And so, like I said, when I jumped off that cliff and said, okay, I'm going to call out for speakers, and I got 38 women said, hey, I'm interested in doing this. And 25 have committed, right? Yeah. So, and then there's the exhibitors, then there's the guest. And so it's like, wow, like this is incredible. Like this is an incredible place to start.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, I guess this is good. I guess this is what I need to be doing. Right. And then somebody else that has come into my life is Natalie, who's been able to give me a lot of the back end things and technology parts with the new software that I'm using. So so kudos to Natalie. So anytime that I'm stuck, it's like, okay, I have a mesh. And she does weekly sessions with our group. And so every week it's like, okay, I've got a list of things, Natalie. It's all conference based. Luckily, the rest of my group members are very patient, and it's like, okay, this is only going to be until March, and then after that, I'm going to be a little bit more quiet. But like every week, she's been able to give me a new something to be able to bring that conference center feel to something that is completely virtual, right? So it gives us that little bit more of that. And we're trying to make it so that it's so easy for people to be able to go in and navigate, so that somebody who's not technically inclined will still be be have access as easily as possible without having the frustrations. There may still be those frustrations, which is why we have a tech person on hand to be able to help with some of those, being able to do that. But we have the opportunity to be able to live chat. We have the opportunity to message our exhibitors. We have the ability to be able to play some navigational games onto the website. So there's going to be some so that you can actually win prizes and stuff as you're going to be going to search for different things. There's lots of little game things that we're going to be incorporating as well. So some of it will be having to have listened to something that Maggie has said, or something that Lori has said, or taking an image of a pose that the other Lori has actually demonstrated. Like, so there's lots of different things that are going to be coming up with of that interaction that we actually don't get to normally have. And any of the conferences that I've attended, with the exception of 2 throughout this entire year, have been where everybody is just listening. Right. So like the way that we're listening on Facebook, people can kind of message, but like that has been the interactions that we've had all the other conferences that I've attended, except for 2. And so a lot of the things that I have learned from these other conferences is I like this and I don't like that. And so one of the things that is really important with this conference is that interaction, where we actually get to connect with the other women, where we actually get to actually meet and sit down and technically have dinner with the other people, right? So we're going to have that opportunity where we're going to have free conversations. We're going to have breakout rooms. So the free conversations during meal times is that people are going to still be able to have conversations. So you get to grab your meal and sit there and eat with, so like technically we're going to be sitting at the dinner table with a number of different people and around the world.
To my house? Are you sending dinner to my house? I'm just checking.
No, you're on your own. Sorry. You're a much better baker than me. But no, everybody goes and grabs their own food and comes back. So one of the things that we're setting up here in the center is actually going to be kind of cool, is that you guys are going to be able to see me move around from one place to the next, because we're going to have different cameras and stuff set up, because we've got a couple of people that are helping behind the scenes that are actually physically going to be here, or a few of them that don't have some technical, that are a little technically challenged, that are physically going to be here as well. So I'll be within my limits of number of people in. You can come up, Maggie. You're welcome to come up. And Nikki says she's not sure that she'd like to get dinner shipped from Canada. Yeah, I don't think so either, Nikki. That would be pretty gross.
I think I can handle my own dinner much more than I can handle logging in. As we could see from how hard it was for me to get on here.
But it's baby steps, right? So now you've learned something new, you're able to connect, and you're able to do something different. And so that's actually a really good point that Nikki's making, though, is like being shipped from Canada, is that the conference is available around the world. And luckily, the people in the US actually get a much cheaper rate than the rest of us, because their dollar value is much higher than ours. So it's already, so if it's $222 here in Canada, it's like less than that in the US. I don't know what it works out to. But then again, depending on where else that you are in the world as well, like it makes a huge difference. I think Australia is pretty close to what we are. And Francine says, you made it, Maggie. That's the most important.
I'm here.
She sends me a message because I'm sitting here waiting, and she sends me a message. She's like, I thought we were meeting. And I'm like, we are. I'm waiting for you. She's like, I'm waiting for you. And I'm like, no, you're not.
Well, I was.
Just in a completely different space.
We were just in separate rooms in that virtual land somewhere out there in outer space.
She was like, I've got a message that says waiting for the host to join. And I'm like, I'm already here. So then we worked through it, but we got it. And she's here.
I know. And I didn't give up because I was going to give up.
And she's like, oh, well, maybe it wasn't meant to be. No, I'm not buying that line today. These are the actual steps.
Rolly never lets me get away with that. It wasn't meant to be means Maggie, try harder.
And she did the same thing when we said, oh, you're accepted as a speaker. And she didn't get that message. And I'm like, what do you mean? Yes, you did. And she's like, no, I didn't. And I'm like, yeah, you did. You definitely got an email that said, hey, you're accepted. And she's like, oh, but she didn't. There was some technical challenges for her again there.
And they were not of my own doing. They were not of my own doing.
So Nikki said that the conference in the US is about $175. So like even that much more bonus, right? Wow. So at today's price. So that's really good.
Yeah, that's good. I would say to people who are watching right now, who it is not 222 yet, and you still have time to sign up, make yourself the priority for this weekend, because one out of all of these speakers will have something that is worth $222 to you. Yeah. And you will find that when you make yourself a priority, it's worth it. And many people, as women, we put ourselves last. We put our job first. We put our children first. We put our extracurricular activities first. But when it comes to our own soul and our own being, we say, well, I'll get to that tomorrow. Well, tomorrow's here. Offering you at $222 in Canada, Rollery is offering you tomorrow. So make yourself the priority today. And I guarantee you that you won't be disappointed, because if you do, there is a spiritual connection that is calling you to do that. And when you jump off that mountain, you're not going to fall. There's going to be people there to catch you, and the universe is going to catch you. So I encourage you to take that leap. Tell yourself, I'm worth it. Tell yourself, I can do this. Even for the funding, it will come back to you in some way.
And one of the things that's actually really important, that I think to be able maybe to point out as well, is that if you send me a message and say, hey, I'd like to be able to do this, but I can't pay until Friday, then shoot me a message and let's see what we can figure out. So, so that is something else that's available as well. So like, because it doesn't hurt to ask, right? So the worst that's going to happen is it's going to be no. So, but I'm letting you know that if there is something that you just need that extra little bit, just send me a little message and we can figure something out. So, because it really is important. So it really is a huge value in terms of, which is the reason why I'm completely out of my own comfort zone to do this global thing. Because it really is something that was important. It was more important for me to do this than the other things that I've had. And although those other things are still really important to me, this was like, I can't let this one go. This is our third annual. And so
take my hand, find it. Let me find it in the screen. Take my hand and we'll jump off the cliff together.
Right? Because it really is. It's really tough. And who I'm comparing some of my successful events to are people who've had like massive tech people who have like cameras and videos and TV screens and like all these other things. That's not the same tech support that I have for this event. So we're going to have a computer in the meditation room. We're going to have one out in the shop. We're going to have 2 of them set up here so that I have access to 2 computers. And then we will likely have one set up in Sheldon's room. Don't know about Jeremy's room yet. We'll have to see how many people are here. But like, there's a lot of different things in terms of the things that we're doing. So Eastlink is going to have to like really ramp up my boost of like how to my upload download. I don't even know the difference between the two. So, but I just need them to make sure that they upload my speeds so that everything is going to run smoothly, that they are able to do that part. Zoom's going to help to boost whatever it is that they need to do. The tech person is going to look after all the rest of the technical stuff that I don't have to deal with, and be able to have making sure that transition between the breakout rooms are going smoothly, all that kind of stuff, so that we have that opportunity to be able to really bring this forward. And one of the things, if you already know me, is that I am very much with that whole relaxed part. So like if something happens that we need to make a shift, then we'll figure it out and we will make the shift. And that was my first year's experience. So my first year experience was like, uh-oh, nothing worked the way that it was supposed to. People couldn't travel where they were supposed to. We had to change our location. The tech support that we were supposed to have, things didn't happen that way. We had to prepare our own meals. There was like speakers that weren't able to attend at all. And so it was like, okay, now what are we supposed to do? Now what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to manage all of this? And I was literally in tears at one point, because it was like, I don't know that I can do this. And it was like, no, yes, you can. And so that's where the experience came from differently. And so my type A personality that liked to have everything, all the ducks in a row, because I planned all the ducks in a row, but I have learned that it's okay. It's okay. And as much as I want 100% smooth sailing, and that's what I'm gearing for, and that's what I'm aiming for, is that everything will smooth sail, is that not everything is going to work exactly the way that I want to, possibly. Yeah. Right. So, but however it is that it works out is going to be exactly the way that it's supposed to be. And I trust that. And I trust that spirit or God or the universe, whatever it is that you call it, has a plan and knows what experiences we're all supposed to be experiencing. So I'm hoping it's not going to be tech stuff, but I keep putting it out there that tech is my friend. Tech is my friend, and everything's going to run smoothly. So,
and some of us are just learning that tech can be our friend. Even if it isn't our friend right now, maybe it's trying to be our friend.
So I want to thank everybody for joining in this conversation. We've actually been chatting, Maddie and Maggie, for like 40 minutes, plus however long we were chatting before we actually went live. And so, but I do have another commitment.
Somehow.
It does. And so I have another commitment at 1 p.m. So I need to go and find the restroom and get some more water and get ready for my next meeting. And Nikki says,
find you easier.
And Nikki, no, I actually have to find them. So I'm actually participating in their thing. So I have to find them. And Nikki said, it is your friend. And it really is. And I am so thankful for everybody. And it really does mean a lot to for even the people who've said like, hey, this is a real stretch for me in terms of financial, and they've taken that step and they've taken that plunge. But like Maggie said, you definitely will not regret it. So I have yet to find one person who has attended that has regretted it. So so have a great day, ladies, and thank you guys. And I will chat with all of you guys later. Bye for now.
Bye.